Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica Flynn and I am the owner and maker of Flynn Sisters Boutique. And today we're going to be doing a tutorial on my Pastel Melrose Summer design. This is a half and half tumbler that I did a really long time ago, and this design has always been a favorite of mine. So I'm really excited to bring you guys this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to have all the products that you see in this video listed and linked down below in the description box. You might even find some discount codes for you there as well. So that's enough chit chat for me. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, you guys, so here we go. We're starting with a fully prepped and sanded cup as usual, and I've already went ahead and prime painted my cup white using just a flat white spray paint. I didn't even do a very good job painting it, just one coat is fine. And we're gonna tape off half of the cup. I've got a large length of painter's tape here, and I'm just gonna try and take some of the stickiness off by like running it against my clothes or my desk. And I'm going to eyeball the center of the bottom of our cup here. I have a more precise way of finding the true center, and I will link the tutorial for that down below. I'm just eyeballing this one because it's quicker for me. And then I'm going to kind of line up the sides here as straight as possible. All right, now that we have that whole half side taped off, I'm just going to spray paint the other side with Rust-Oleum's Candy Pink. It's my favorite light pink for a look like this. And I am going to spray paint 2 coats, and make sure when you're using this stuff, you spray paint light, even coats. Don't let it pool or drip. All right, and as soon as that paint is mostly dry, we're going to remove our tape. My paint doesn't really take long to dry around this season because it's so warm in my shop. So as soon as it's dry to the touch, we're ready to apply our epoxy and glitter. I'm going to use that same quick glitter technique that I've used for like my last 2 videos. I'm sorry guys, it's just so easy for me to create a really quick, beautiful look with this technique, so bear with me. All right, so I've got 30 milliliters of epoxy mixed this time, and I've added enough glitter to cover the top of my epoxy in my little pot here. And I'm just going to very carefully mix in that glitter, adding more if I need to, and we want to make sure that we have this thoroughly mixed so we get nice even coverage. Not too much glitter and not too little. You'll see the consistency that I have here is about what you want. And then we're just going to spread this all over the cup like we normally would, and torch at the end to blast any kind of micro bubbles. I'm using regular Alumilite epoxy today. So I'm going to let this dry for about 8 to 12 hours before we move on to our next steps. All right, so for this marble side, what we're going to do is we're going to tape off the pink side, and I'm going to apply the water slide over kind of a splotchy spray painted base, because I do want like some of that glitter to come through, but I don't want it all solid glitter coming through this marble. We did a similar technique with the Bahama marble tumbler that we did a while back. So if you need a little more help with what I'm talking about, definitely watch that tutorial. So I'm just going to tape off this pink side with some blue painter's tape. Try to get as sharp as line as we can. Definitely want it straight across the bottom. Okay, and then we'll do another line of tape going through the center line. Okay, and then we're just going to spray paint our epoxy here, our epoxied glitter, just in a couple different sections. So I'm going to go out and spray this, and then I'll show you what I mean. All right, so I've taken this out and I've spray painted some of those sections white. So all I did with my spray can was just spray paint some random dots of color, or I guess in this case white. And then as soon as that dries, we're going to go over it with a clear gloss paint. The reason why I want to go over this with a clear gloss paint is because this is a flat or matte finish paint, and if we apply our clear water slide over that matte finish paint, it's going to look a little bit weird. So now that this is dry, I'm going to go back outside and I'm going to spray my clear gloss layer. All right, and as soon as that clear spray paint dries, we're going to apply our water slide. I've already printed and sealed my water slide. I sealed this 5 times with Rust-Oleum clear gloss spray paint with some thin, nice, even coats. If you guys need help with printing full sheet water slide, I'm gonna link a video down below that you're gonna find really helpful. I've got a baking dish with room temp water in it, and I'm gonna submerge my water slide for at least 5 minutes until that water slide lifts from the paper backing. As soon as my whole sheet has lifted, I'm ready to apply it. You may need to kind of coax it from the sides a little bit to get it to fully lift. Just be careful, you want to be minimal with your touching. So don't put your hands all over this. Try to avoid touching the top of it. And then I'm just going to jump right into the application. We're going to anchor down a small section of the water slide first on one edge and then slowly remove the paper backing, smoothing as we go with our silicone brush. And when it comes to the top and bottom rim, I'm just going to wrap the excess around the rim of my cup on both the top and the bottom. And don't worry about that excess. We are going to trim that up later with our craft knife. All right, so we're just going to smooth this out as well as we can, keeping in mind that the water slide does shrink as it dries. So we have about 5 to 10 minutes or so of kind of smoothing this out and checking in on it to make sure no new bubbles reappear. Okay, and just kind of smoothing out those wrinkles around the top and the bottom as well as we can. Once this is dry enough, I'm going to trim off my excess with my craft knife along the top and the bottom and the sides, running my craft knife along that tape that I have there as my guide. Along the bottom, I'm just going to trim along the ridge of the bottom of the cup there. Don't worry if that's perfect or not, because we're going to be covering that up later. So we really just kind of want to trim it up as neatly as we can along that bottom edge there. All right, and I'm going to let that water slide dry for about an hour. And now we're ready to apply the waterfall glitter over the marbled section. I've got 5 milliliters of epoxy mixed here, and I am going to apply less than 1 milliliter of epoxy to apply the glitter. I'm applying this epoxy right over our dried water slide. There's no need to seal first or anything like that. We're just going to apply a very, very, very thin coat, as minimal of a coat as you could possibly get on here, okay? Don't forget your bottom. Once we've got that epoxy all smoothed out over that marble water slide, we're going to fade in some kind of chunky opal holographic beautiful glitter from Peachy Olive Glitters. This is Galadriel. This is one of my favorite chunky mixes from Peachy Olive Glitters. It's not a very chunky mix, it's kind of a medium chunky mix, but it is absolutely stunning. So we're gonna hold our cup at an angle like so and just very gently tap on some of that glitter, aiming for the corner, like the bottom corner of our cup. You'll see what I'm doing here, just really lightly tapping to create that waterfall glitter effect. Again, don't forget the bottom of your cup. If you're having trouble with this waterfall ombre glitter technique, I have a whole tutorial on this that I will link down below in the description box. You might want to check that out as well. I'm going to tap off some of my excess at this point and see if I need any more. I really want kind of sheer coverage for this design, so I'm not going to go too crazy. I just want to make sure that I come up to the height that I want on my tumbler, which is about midway up the cup. So we've got great coverage here. I absolutely love the look of this glitter over that marble. And I am going to again tap off the excess, and then we're going to try to pat down any kind of pokey pieces with some parchment paper. I don't want to press too firmly, just kind of pat down some of those really pokey bits. Then I'm going to place my cup on my turner to dry. Normally I would put, epoxy method glitter on my rack to dry. However, since we have some open space here, if we were to hang this upside down, some of that glitter has a tendency to kind of migrate down. So you do want to put this on the turner. And I am using fast set epoxy, so this should only take a couple hours for me to dry. As soon as I get it on the turner though, I do want to remove my tape. If you used a little bit more epoxy than you should have, you may want to wait to remove your tape for about 30 to 45 minutes. Once I've got that all dried, I am again going to tap off the excess glitter, and then I am going to seal this. Even though we did epoxy method glitter on it and we did do sheer coverage, there is a possibility for that glitter to migrate around, and we definitely want to make sure it stays put. So I'm just going to seal this really quick with some Rust-Oleum 2x clear gloss spray paint before we move on to our next steps. That sealer took about 20 minutes to dry, and while I was waiting for it to dry, I created my water slide for the other side. Here I have printed this really cool palm tree silhouette. Again, I got this image a really long time ago. I can't exactly remember where I got it, but I will certainly try my best to link it down below in the description box. And at the very least, I could probably put it in the files section of the Flynn Sisters community group on Facebook, which we have a link for down in the description box as well. After I've printed this, I am going to just trim off the excess. I printed this at 10 inches long by 6 inches wide through Google Docs. You'll notice there was a chunk missing out of my water slide because I printed something else on there also for a different project. I did seal it in the same way that I sealed the marble. The tutorial that we did for the pen and tumbler wraps will definitely help you guys size and print your water slides if this is something that you're having trouble with getting those larger sizes like we have here. To apply my water slide, I'm just anchoring at one end of my cup here as well as I can with just kind of 1 inch of that water slide. I'm going to smooth that down, and then once it's anchored down nicely, I'm going to slowly start to remove my paper backing from the water slide. Okay? Making sure that we have everything lined up really nicely against our center line there. And I'm just going to work really slowly to continue to do that. Everything is staying really wet at this point. So like my paper's still wet, the cup is wet, everything needs to stay really moist during this process to avoid cracking with our water slide. I've talked about this before in my videos that I think part of the success of getting good water slide images to transfer is doing really thin, even coats of your clear spray paint. So no pooling, no drips with your sealer. Also making sure that you shake the can of your sealer spray for at least 60 seconds before you move on to spraying your water slide. All right. So once I've got this applied, I'm just going to trim up the excess that kind of overlapped into the other side with my craft knife. And along the bottom here, I'm just going to roll the bottom of my image around that bottom corner as well as I can to kind of smooth out any wrinkles. I just traced my knife along the natural curve on that bottom rim, and it kind of made sense for the image. I think it looked pretty cleaned up. However you want to trim this, if you wanted to trim it along the true bottom edge instead of wrapping all around the bottom, you could do that also. Before I let this dry, I like to just go over everything again, make sure I got all my wrinkles and bubbles out. I'm going to let it dry for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to apply a layer of epoxy over this. I've got 30 milliliters of Alumilite, and this is just the regular formula. So I'm going to apply this and let it dry for about 4 to 6 hours, and then I came back and did a second coat right over it. I let that second coat dry for about 8 to 12 hours before we moved on to our sanding. So I just did like my regular sanding process along the top rim. I didn't have a whole lot of sanding to do along the bottom rim because it actually came out really smooth and nice. So once we get this top rim all sanded down like I normally would, to expose that fine line of stainless steel, I'm going to go rinse this off at the sink and dry it off with some paper towels, and then we're ready to apply our vinyl details. For my vinyl details on this, I'm just using this beautiful like graphite holographic vinyl that I got from thevinylpeople.com. I'll have a link for this down below. I'm just going to start in the bottom center of my cup. This is just a square shape that I resized in Cricut Design Space to 11.5 inches wide by 0.15 inches tall. And we're just going to line that up with the natural line of our design and smooth it out really well. Then I'm going to trim off the excess with my craft knife up at the top. I'm going to repeat that same process for the other side. And I actually think that's all I'm going to do for this one today. I couldn't think of any kind of decal I want to put on it yet, so I'm just going to leave it simple for now. As soon as I got my vinyl lines applied, I was ready to apply my final coats of epoxy. This one took 2 final coats before it was totally smooth, and then we were done. I did use Alumilite's Amazing Clear Cast Plus for my final coats. Because this is a lighter color cup, I do want that added UV protection to keep it bright for a very long time. All right, you guys, and so that is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I can't wait to see your version of this cup. Please tag me in your creations, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. I do upload every Wednesday and Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.